And thank you to all the staff here at the Spiritual Life Center, Megan and Jen. I don't see anybody else, but their hospitality and generosity and everything that they do to make this event happen has just been incredible. So let's give them a round of applause. Is anybody? I know we have a couple first timers. Anybody? This is your first time and wants. Great. Well, welcome. For those of you who don't know about CAB, really it's a pretty simple mission, is to try to inspire each and every one of us to be the man or woman that God has called us to be through speakers and through resources. So to foster discipleship and community. 41 new members. We ended up 2019 with 41 new members. The newest ones are to the right. So raise your hand if you're a new member in 2019. And let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. So now we're just over 160 members. Anybody find the new payment method a little bit easier? Is that good? Okay, good. We thanks to our team back there. It's been a learning process. So thanks everybody for your patience as we go through that. If you haven't paid or don't know if you've paid, there's some lists, but it's probably as easy as just to pay again, and then we'll sort it out. You can either go online and pay, or if some of you just still like those hand checks, we do have envelopes here that you can pay. But that's the new online system. You can go to cabwichita.org and it will pull up. You should have, hopefully everybody has a book. That's our resource for today. If you haven't read that, it's 25 or so short stories about the saints in kind of a unique and practical way with some questions. It's 2 to 3 pages on each saint, which I can actually get my arms around that. So it's not the story of a soul, which is a great book, but you have to really want it and stay with some of those autobiographies of the saints. But and then formed. Anybody taking advantage of the formed membership through CAB or through your parish? Everybody familiar with that? If you're not familiar with formed, I urge you to go out on formed and sign up. If you want to write down CAB's free membership coupon, it's YN6PP2. YN6PP2. And it's amazing, all the resources, movies, studies, books, everything. So I can't encourage that more. And you can sign up for daily emails and a lot of great resources. I'm going to touch on one here in a second. Also, obviously, we're going to talk more about that, but the Spiritual Life Center has agreed, and CAB's going to sponsor the pilgrimage series, which is the 4th Havens Men's series. So Monday, February 17th is going to be the first day that starts. It's going to be here at the Spiritual Life Center, which we'll talk a little bit more about that. We'd love to have you join us. Registration's on the front page of CAB. So you can go on there and register for that. Additional dates and speakers for 2020. Just note, I'm getting all the logistical stuff out of the way here because we got some great speakers. So if people need to leave early, they can go. So we're still building this out a little bit, but there's been a lot of comments in the surveys, everything about prayer, about meditation, mindfulness, and about what that means in our spiritual journey, not only in our personal journey, but also how does that apply to our leadership. And so we're building that out. We have a couple of speakers in mind that we've been visiting with, and I think you're going to find that a really, really good topic. Part of that, and you've heard about it, and we're going to try to include the faith and science component of it. There's so many more studies on neurology right now and mental illness and all that. And how does that play into how we're trying to be the best person we can be? So that's the thought process going into there. September 24th, that's a Thursday. Thursday. Remember that. September equals Thursday, not Wednesday, and it's not at Spiritual Life Center, it's at the Cathedral, because we have Father Paul Scalia. Some of you name might sound familiar. He is the son of Supreme Court Justice Anthony Scalia, who passed away, I think, last year. So he's coming in for the Red Mass at the Cathedral, and we're going to have a talk from him. And then November 4th, TBD, still looking for the Holy Spirit to inspire us, who's going to be plugging in there. We have some ideas, but again, fill out those surveys and give us any speaker ideas you might have. Ladies' night, I don't know if these are the flyers. Somebody, Steve Gabbard, I won't name names, but asked how he could sign up for this. Anyway, if anybody's here from the committee that wants to talk about this, let me know. But it's February 6th, 5 to 7, Mike's Wine Dive. So all the women of CAB show up, and I understand they're fun events. So, okay. Still looking for some man to do the pub crawl, but nobody's really come up for that. And then the Pilgrimage Series I already mentioned, and then the Catholics Men's Conference. You can go to Man Fully Alive. There's a men's conference coming up, and Jason may talk a little bit more about that. And then after, you should be receiving a survey after these events. We really want you to fill that out. Please take the 3 to 4 or 5 minutes it takes, because that's where we get the ideas for the talks and how we can make this better. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time to fill that out. So with that, we're going to get going. We're going to watch a couple of short videos, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jason Cyril, and him and Joe are going to take it away from here. I think we will.
Shortly after Jesus died on the cross, 2 of his disciples left the city of Jerusalem, anxious and confused, filled with many questions. It seemed to them that everything they hoped for.
Sorry. There's that up.
For Jesus ended on the cross. The Bible tells us while they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. Jesus explained the scriptures to them, showing how it was necessary that the Messiah should suffer and enter into his glory. The death of the Messiah was all a part of God's plan. This teaching rekindled hope in their hearts, and they asked this mysterious man to stay with them. It was then that they recognized who it was who had been walking with them all along.
It may be hard to believe that Jesus' own disciples didn't recognize him on the road that day, but we do the same thing. We often fail to notice how God is with us, guiding us, and wanting to help us in our lives. But that same Jesus who walked with the disciples on the road to Emmaus is walking with us in our own journey of faith, whether we realize it or not.
So you can kind of see the tie-in with our theme for today, Pilgrim and a Tourist. And that's a little short video clip from Formed. So that was a daily email, and then you can go for the whole series and find more about that. So hopefully this will play up. This is the series trailer for the Pilgrimage series, and it kind of gives you a good overview of what that's all about, and it kind of sets up what we're going to be talking about here the rest of the morning.
You leave behind your life, you leave behind people that you know, you don't take your phone to fully enter into this experience.
Is it possible that God designed us to not be as busy as we are?
There are new friendships are made. We're accompanying one another. We're acknowledging one another. We're praying with one another.
There's a feeling here that you can't shake. Like everybody here has this joy about them, and everybody here is here for a different reason.
And every step we take is for our own healing and what the Lord can do for us, and then for all these intentions. And some of us are almost walking hunched over, we're carrying so many intentions. There is a bigger plan here. God desires an adventure for us.
It's not just walking, it's knowing who do we follow.
It's like, no, Jesus wants me. He's inviting me to this closer relationship with him. I just got to take this step, and I just got to follow him.
Hopefully, I'm able to take the people, my friends, my family, my coworkers along with me to heaven someday. It's the ultimate ending to a great pilgrimage.
The real world is what we've been on for those 4 days.
Oh, hopefully that's a decent video. little insight there, okay? A little nervous there about what's popping up. Okay, we're not going to watch a 32-minute video, but it is my extreme privilege to know Joe Dellasega and Jason Cyril. A lot of you know both of them, but Jason has been involved in Capen's Men from the beginning and is involved in a lot of organizations. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to list all the accolades for Jason, but he has been on pilgrimages and is available to kind of unpack, pilgrim or tourist and help Joe with that process. And I didn't think it would be a better person than Jason to get us started this morning. So, Jason, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to spend a little time and tell you about the pilgrimage series that we're going to offer here. And the first thing is our first 3 series that we built at Capen's Men were all from men's faith formation. We had a wonderful, talented young lady, Abby Arnold, formerly known as Abby Dellasega, Joe's daughter. We picked her to produce and direct these videos, and we did that intentionally to expand our view a little bit. So this series was filmed and designed and laid out for men and women. So February 18th for 8 weeks, you just saw the trailer. The very first video that we do, we really try and introduce why we do what we do and what the Father Capen Walk is. So it's a 32-minute video overview of what that pilgrimage is. And we condensed the 32 minutes, 60 miles, and 4 days into that 32 minutes. And you'll see all the different elements of the pilgrimage. The following 7 weeks, what we tried to do is really figure out what are the attributes that make up a pilgrim's disposition. And although pilgrimages are often known as these holy places that we go, Blake mentioned going on pilgrimages is certainly one. And pilgrimages oftentimes are where the physical, the mental, and the spiritual intersect. And this has all of it. The Camino de Santiago, the Holy Land, Rome, or some of the big pilgrimages that our church recognizes, and those are often to holy places. But what we try to do is what are the attributes that make up a pilgrim's disposition? And so for 7 weeks, we look at those attributes. And real briefly, they are invitation is the very first thing. You need to be attentive and listen to the Lord's call and His promptings in your life. The second one is simplicity. And we really talk about the narrow gate and that concept and how we go through life accumulating a bunch of stuff that maybe we don't need and how sometimes that burdens us. The next is accompaniment and the need to have one another on our journeys with each other. Following that, I think everybody in this room, those of us who have kids, we've all been drilled into us, and we drill into our kids, we gotta serve, we gotta serve. We gotta have servant hearts. But a pilgrim needs to not only be good at serving, they have to be good at receiving gifts. We need to be grateful, and we need to have a spirit of humility in order to be helped along our way. So we kind of flip service on its head. And we call that one receiving. After that, we do fortitude. This is hard stuff. Our journey on pilgrimage, the physical piece is hard, and having fortitude is important. Openness to God, and then finally going forth, the Great Commission. It's interesting, the third Eucharistic prayer, we hear it all the time. We say in our pilgrim church on earth that the whole concept of pilgrimage as a corollary to life is really very important to us at Cape Men. It helped to tell the story. This is the 11th year we did this walk. It tells his story. I'll close real briefly. Since we released this, in the last 30 days, we've had 4,200 views of the entire video, the first one. So we are spreading Father Capen's word, his story out there, which is really what Cape Men is all about. But please sign up, just like CAB, it's very easy to do it. I signed up this morning for the February 17th. It'll take no more than a minute. It's free. It'll be from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 8 consecutive weeks here at the Spiritual Life Center. We'll have different facilitators that walk us through this. With that, one other thing, the Band Fully Alive conference that Blake mentioned, we are very honored, and in this theme of pilgrimage this year, a couple of our keynotes. One is Chris Stefanik, who's about as big a name speaker, is out there on the Catholic circuit right now. For the first year, we're open this, not just men, but their sons as well, high school age sons. So please promote that. Please come. We, in the pilgrimage theme, we have Justin Skisak and Patrick Gray, who starred in the documentary I'll Push You. They did the 500-mile Camino de Santiago back in 2014, and Justin is suffering from a disease called MAMA. It's akin to ALS. It'll eventually take his life. He has no use of his arms and his legs. His best friend from birth, they're about 42 or 3 years old now. His best friend from birth, when he found out that Justin wanted to do this pilgrimage from France over the Pyrenees Mountains, 500 miles to Santiago de Compostela, he looked at his best friend and said, "I'll push you." They brought her along with a documentary film crew, and it's about as powerful of a story about authentic Christian friendship that you'll ever see. So I encourage you to look that up on Amazon Prime, either read the book or Mike.
Saturday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. Free. Anybody who wants to see it, kind of as a promotion for the men's conference.
I'd love to have you out to watch the movie. Be a good chance to get together. So with that, that's a little bit about pilgrimage. I'm going to bring Joe Dellasega up. Just want to say a couple words about Joe. He's spoken to us here at CAP before. He is going to give us a little bit of an overview about a pilgrim's disposition, some of the things that we talked about that we try and get to the bottom of in our series. A pilgrim's disposition really isn't always just about going to a holy place. It's our journey in life together. And the disposition really encompasses our orientation, our interior orientation, and then our attitude, both the way we think normally about an attitude, which sometimes manifests itself in behavior, but also I like the definition of what it means to those of us who are, you guys who are involved in the aircraft industry and flying. Attitude is your angle relative to the horizon. So Father Ezra just said, we got to know who we're following. So on that journey of pilgrimage, I've been blessed to be very close and good friends with Joe. When he talks about some of the spiritual tools today, in my spiritual toolbox, Joe's my Swiss Army knife of my spiritual toolbox. I love him dearly. Come on up, Joe, and please give him a warm welcome.
Okay. So when they asked me to tee up the whole pilgrimage concept, when I went immediately knowing Steve Gebert was going to be in the audience, I went and pulled out my pictures from the Masters, because pilgrimage is a trip to a holy place, and in Steve's eyes, that is the Holy Land. So I hope you enjoy these. This will, no, I'm just kidding. It actually isn't true. But I am going to unpack pilgrimage for you. But first, I'm going to start with this. This is my grandson, Anthony. And you know when people say, what are you? I'm a businessman and I'm a father and all that. And ultimately, we land. The ultimate is, right, we're a son or daughter of Christ. Well, second to that is that I'm a grandparent. And that has obviously... Now, that's Anthony. And I will tell you, when we played with Anthony, he's the boy of three girls in the family now. The trouble is, if any grandparent knows that he gets to be Patrick Mahomes and I'm the Raiders. He gets to be KU and I have to be somebody else. He is slaying the dragons, I get to be the dragon. And being the bad guy, it's kind of nice to be here once in a while being a good guy, but it's going to be hard with little Anthony. One day I came home for lunch, and when I got there, I walked in, and Anthony greeted me at the door. And he says, the very first thing is he says, I'm sorry, here, let me get this going. They good? First thing he says is, "We take your shoes off, Papa." And so he take my shoes off and we're playing. But I come back and I said, "Anthony, why do you always ask me to take my shoes off?" And he says, "Because when you take your shoes off, I know you're not going back to work." and you know, you've heard the thing, proximity is power and time. And so pilgrimage for me was a way to take my shoes off and be present to Christ, be present to my spouse, be present to the people who I'm doing this walk. Many of you have experienced this. My hope, I always like to start with the end in mind. This will be a successful morning if when you walk out those doors, you're somewhat inspired to connect your life with the pilgrimage, but to take that first step and be intentional. So that's what we're going to try to do today. Your life journey, a vacation or a pilgrimage. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Let's get started. Let's center it up. A vacationer, if we take that as a trip, someone is devoting time to pleasure or relaxation rather than to work, right? We take a vacation, we're able to get away, break away. A pilgrim, a person who's on a journey to a holy place, right? I.e. the Masters. I think pilgrim, as it relates to our lives, is a person who's on a journey to heaven. We intuitively know this, right? We know we're going to die. And then we put that away because you can't live with the idea of death. You live. Every day you get up, you do your thing, right? On May 7th, 2011, that's when my pilgrimage began. Prior to that, I was on a walk. I was going in a direction. Like many of you, I wanted to get to heaven, and I was doing fundamentally a lot of things that I thought were good. I know a lot of you have already heard this story, so I'm going to make it quick. But for those of you that don't, Nick was running in a 5K, and at the end of it, he's in fantastic shape. He goes face down. He has some kind of a heart issue. He's out for 11 minutes. They try to give him CPR, and no response. My nephew, Jonah, falls to his knees right there at the site and prays for the intercession of Father Caven. Please come help Nick. At the same time, my niece is up here at a forensics tournament and goes into the chapel. The second she hears it, within this 11 minutes, prays to Father Caven to intercede. We had him in our lives because Father Tom Strood had told him so much about him. So, on the way, they load him in the ambulance, 10 minutes, good CPR, and they put the paddles on him, no response. And then he's going to the hospital, and on the way, totally out, the EMTs go to trach him, get him ready for the next phase. My brother had called, who's a physician, and giving him good CPR, called me, we were in Manhattan, and said, hey, just pray. I said, he's going to be all right, Nick, just pray. And that was all I got. So anyway, on the way, goes by my mom. She's pulled up the street, this ambulance goes by. What does she do? Immediately says a Hail Mary, doesn't know who's inside. After that, all of a sudden, Nick wakes up, looks at the EMT and says, what are you guys doing? Perfectly clear. The two EMTs, I think the coolest thing in the story is that they looked at each other immediately and said, did you feel that? They said it felt like a bolt of lightning had hit the ambulance. So, it happened. A lot of people go through a lot of tragedy and a lot of long-term issues. Ours was like a microburst. It goes down, he comes up. My brother says, Joe, I probably broke ribs. It'll take 5 to 6 days for organs to start to come back. Starting to prepare me for what it could look like. I'm ready for brain damage. As a parent, we're all waiting for that call, right? Let's admit it. And so I was prepared. I'm going through the prayers, and we're driving home from Manhattan. It just took like 14 hours, it felt like. The rest of the story is, Nick had no headache. He had no pain. He gets rushed here to Dellasega. He gets, they put a precautionary defibrillator pacemaker. And then they left with, this is all we can do for you. We don't know what happened. After God, sudden death syndrome. So as a parent, what I wanted to do is I wanted to fix it. We started, all of us had to go get tested. Everybody in the family has, you have partial block, and everybody, there's a lot of 2 or 3 people have things. This is hereditary. Your mind can do some really bad things when you're in this state. Totally off balance. I was driven to get to Mayo or to anywhere I could to get the answer, to get it fixed, and for life to go on. The greatest gift I got, looking back, was the 4 months from the time this Nick went down to the time that we got to Mayo Clinic. Okay? And what I'd like to do is to share a little bit of what that process was. I know it's going to be hard for you to see this, but the next morning, I couldn't take my head off the pillow that all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I just thought, if anything, we were going to live on. God doesn't give us tomorrow, right? And we all know it. We all live through this situation, but the realization, hey, God doesn't give us tomorrow. And then my next thing was gratitude. I lay there and my first thought was, thank God Nick's alive. Just thank God. And the love of the Father for the Son became just so raw and it just curled up in my body. Well, all of a sudden, that recognition of God's love led, I'm sorry, I didn't know that it would do it that way, but intense gratitude. It went back to, not only was I grateful, but I became extremely grateful. And that gratitude led to grateful for Janice. All of a sudden, I was like, well, thank God he was even ever born. I thought somehow I chose to have Nick. We do that. Well, I'm going to have this. We're going to do it now. And then you have it. It's like, it's just all about me. I did this. Janice not. And all of a sudden, it was gratitude that Nick was even born. But all of a sudden, well, thank God for Janice. And then it led to my family, my kids, and all the people that I'm working with, and people in my own community. I actually started to get a little tired of hearing. You just grinding with the same people, and all of a sudden, you just feel like you can't breathe. And all of a sudden, I saw the good in people. And so this gratitude and all this just led to, well, why? And then it led to all back to Christ, and it led to this desire to know him better. It's like, think of a friendship. I was running to him so hard, praying to get good answers and praying to figure what happened. And then all of a sudden I thought, I thought of him as a friend. I thought of him as a person like I'd never thought of him before. And I wanted to know him. I said, I don't want, bad things are going to happen. There will be another time, another big situation. It may happen to him. It may happen before we can get to Mayo Clinic. And so I was like, God, I don't want to run you like this next time something happens. I already want to know you. I already want to be close to you. So I had this incredible desire to know him. And when I think of pilgrimage, the challenge I had before this date is I was kind of motivated to know him, but I wasn't motivated to know him like I was right then. And so we want that desire. And I had that, just an incredible desire to know him. And then I began to ask the question, but how am I going to know you? I thought, how? And I thought of the how differently than I ever had before. And when I began to think of the how, I thought, he gave us his word. He gave us the word. And he gave us daily Eucharist. And so that was where I started. I started at the time when we were going to Mass frequently. Now, daily Mass is as important to our lives as eating and going to bed. And so start going to daily Mass. And then I'm like, I want to know you. I'm not the one that I would consider myself the greatest reader of the Bible. And what it means. And I'm the one you can read it. It's good, you read it, but you don't go deep. And all of a sudden, I started praying for wisdom. I said, Lord, I know your word's there. I know you're trying to talk to me. I know you're trying to tell me something. So I began to pray for wisdom. And all of a sudden, daily Mass led to reading the interpretations, whether it's Word Among Us, anything I get my hand on for the day that had a meditation. And over time, in the next months, all of a sudden, the words, I got them. And I got a message out of them. And it was it was a great feeling. I also learned I had to put in the time. Daily Mass, prayer, adoration, the rosary. And so we don't get to know somebody. If you have a friend and somebody you want to know, I venture to say you start to find a lot more out about them, and you start spending a lot more time with them. And what that it led to was to living for him. At work, all of a sudden, I was fired up about what I was doing, and we've been pushing this business that we were working in, and all of a sudden, selling, printing for photographers paled in importance to things that I saw that I could do, whether it was Catholic Charities or helping with the school. I don't know about you, but a lot of us have these things. When I retire, I'm going to do this. I'd like to do that. Well, all of a sudden, I'm like, God isn't necessarily guarantee that I'm going to retire to be able to do those things. And so, it took me about a year, and I was able to wind out of that, started conversations, and it led to being able to step out, go back to a smaller business I was involved with, but to spend time with some other ministries in the diocese, which have been amazing gifts. This experience is what's allowed me to create incredible friendships with at least a dozen, maybe 24 people in this room already. This is my home away from home. That doesn't happen unless Nick's situation happens. So it's been an incredible blessing. I don't know why that's not advancing. So I'm done. No. Let's try this. It led to the last thing. And all of a sudden, I'd never before felt a responsibility to tell others. It's kind of difficult because it sounds like you're telling a big story, or I don't know, it's not bragging, but it's drawing attention to yourself. And that didn't feel comfortable. But by talking to some priest friends, they were able to coach me through the why and the how. I will tell you, one of the most underutilized resources we have right now in this diocese is utilizing our priests in this way. We're sitting around, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for 1 second, then I'll come back. But I've seen, if any trials I have, that we expect our priests to be perfect. We expect them to give great sermons. We expect them to be charismatic. We expect them to be friends to everybody. We expect them to be able to be good business people. We expect them to be able to raise money. And it's about us. It's not about them. The fact they get up and say daily mass and listen to our confessions, maybe we ought to stop there. And anything else we have is great, is the icing on top of the cake. That's been an incredible gift, and they're incredible people. So, what I would categorize the last areas is that I went from discipleship and being a steward to being more of an intentional disciple. And I've walked with many of you, and I've seen that same progression. The cool thing is I'm going through that. All of a sudden, the people that had gone through it and were already living that life, I saw them glow. And I wanted to be in their world, and I wanted to know more about them. And all of a sudden, the person, I was real good at trying to find the people who were influential. I could walk into a room and figure out, who's the decision maker, who's the leader. I was attracted to leadership, and I still am, but it's different now. Those people are amazing. But you take it over here, the people who are humble, who are doing great things, really attract me. I just got to come off a trip to the Holy Land. Just got back a day or two ago. And there was a gentleman that ran a gift shop, a big one, in Bethlehem. Handsome man. You been there, Mike? Yeah. Handsome guy. Did you get to talk to him? Yeah. Very impressive. Impressive when he talks about his love for his family and his product and his country. So that evening, while we were in Bethlehem at an retreat, we got to go to an orphanage. And golly, guys, the expectations of our healthcare system, you go over there, and we walked up the steps, 5 sisters, many volunteers, 35 people. You get to do that. 35 kids, very severely handicapped. There was one little boy that was sitting by the window. His father was a single father, a single parent, dropped his son off at the orphanage. Severely handicapped. The boy had been sitting for 2 years by the window waiting for him to come back. But the cool thing about that trip is that same businessman that we got to listen to was standing next to Sister. And he greeted us, turned it over to Sister, and then he'd go talk to Mike. You could tell he was integrally involved with this mission. He donated proceeds came from his store to support the mission. He gave administrative help to the mission. He knew Sister. You could tell she was a confidant. So many times in our business world, we have so many opportunities, but we're so focused on our business that we miss the opportunities. We don't have to quit doing business to be on a pilgrimage and to help people and to help ministries. This guy was a shining example of that. So anyway, intentional discipleship. I've heard that word. I know that word. But all of a sudden, that word makes a lot more sense. The end of the story, we go to Mayo. 4 months later, it was a long walk. I'm so worried about Nick. Every time that phone rang, I'd see Nick's name come up because it came up just like that when a friend grabbed his phone and called me. Your heart stops. It was the craziest the world just had you. Go to Mayo. Amazing specialist in this area did the EP study, did everything. He said, I don't know. We don't know what happened. He said his heart's perfect. That day the electrical didn't connect. Can't tell you what happened. Go home, do everything you did before. And boy, I drove home and it felt like freedom. But I look back, that 4 months, something happened. Father Lansdale talks about the teachings of the faith, but he also can apply it. Have you ever gone and you've done a puzzle? You heard me talking to Father Lansdale do the puzzle? And you come up to a teaching of the faith or something that happens, and you're doing a puzzle and you've got the frame, you start filling it in, and then you get to that where you know that puzzle piece has to fit in some small area, but it doesn't. And what do? He says you take the piece, and he says you put it over here on the side because you know it's going to all come together. I said, that is looking back what happened. In those 4 months, I can't tell you what happened. And I knew God was there, but I didn't know how. And now I look back and tell the story 8 years later, 9 years later, and I see all of these blessings that have happened. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody, and all of you have your own issues that you go through in your life. But what I've learned is connecting something bad or suffering or something that hurts with trusting God is one of the greatest gifts. On that pilgrimage to the Holy Land, Gethsemane was one of the most awesome stops. And it's that same thing of the whole idea of suffering. And was it Fulton Sheen that said the hospital is filled with wasted sufferers and wasted sufferings. And that whole redemptive suffering idea. So, real quick, the disclaimer, vacations are not bad. I mean, you can almost sit there going, all your waiting loads have to go on pilgrimage, which has a whole different definition. Vacations are good. Real quick, on the comparison, I'm going to take what a vacationer does on our trip or what a pilgrim does, and this is obviously in life, right? So if we're on a trip that's not intentional, we seek earthly happiness. I'm real good about wanting what's comfortable and what gadgets can I have, and what can we do to be comfortable, versus a pilgrim is seeking joy. Jason had talked about in vacation, we pack our stuff, pack our clubs, pack all the different clothes we're going to need, pack the bathing suit, take our cell phone, take the computer, because we're going to take a lot of pictures, and then we're going to download them, and then we're going to go on Facebook, and we're going to show everybody in the world how much fun we're having. It just burden a lot of stuff. I find when you go on a pilgrimage, what do? We seek simplicity, and we're downloading all that. Blake and I talked about when he went on his pilgrimage, and I mean, how big was the bag you took? That's all you took? This is all he took for how long? 14 days. To do that, there's a lot of different things you can do to keep cutting that down and down. When we go on pilgrimage, we seek simplicity. In our lives, we're looking for simplicity. On vacation, we look out for ourselves. Vacation with their image, their brand. We do that every day. We're really good with our brand. Versus a pilgrim accompanies others. A vacation expects service. A pilgrim receives help humbly. On our trip, there was a woman, Karen, and there were 160 people, 4 buses. They did an amazing job with that. But I never really got to see Karen walk. Never was in a conversation with her. I saw her across the hall. Karen looked like she was just not a very fun person. She was unhappy most of the time. And I sized her up. You know how you do. What's her story? What do you think her story is? Just I was like, why did she even come? So fast forward to the bottom line, let's get right to the end. Karen has Lou Gehrig's disease. Her voice, it's gotten to the point now it's shaky. She walks, she's in a wheelchair most of the time. I've never seen that, where she could barely get by with a cane. So on this pilgrimage, this Holy Land thing, which models our pilgrimage in life, I watched all the way to the end. We get to the Dead Sea. She goes in the bathhouse, and Janice happened to be there, my wife, and 4 different ladies helped her get a bathing suit on. There's the accompaniment, and then there's humbly receiving this. She fights her way down to the water. We get her in the water. Think about what it's like, guys, to have all these people lifting you. She doesn't have long. She's on a world tour to see the world. At the last Mass, we all prayed over her. Amazing. And I just say on pilgrimage, it changes you. And go back to that other slide. There's people that are accompanying one of the most impressive people on 160 was her husband, who was attentive, he was joyful. You wouldn't have thought anything was wrong in his life. Absolutely amazing. You look for comfort, a pilgrim, there's fortitude. Right? It doesn't always feel good. And then vacation, you make the plans, it's your expectations, and then the other openness to God's will and praying for God's will. God has amazing plans for all of us. We got to work at it. We got to figure out what that is. Lastly, a vacationer goes home. Pilgrim goes forth. We got to go out and we got to tell people. So we're always courageous, although we know that while we were at home, we're at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith and not by sight. The word walk has become such a strong part of our DNA. Whether it's walking around the neighborhood with the concept. Anybody at the end of the place was on the Platte? I know Mike. I don't know if you remember the stations there are amazing. You listen to the Whisper, and the last day, one of those movies is The Tomb. And the girl with this amazing voice says, you know, it's over. The tomb is open. He has risen. And now all we are asked to do is to walk. And so, walking by faith. And I would just ask you, the last few minutes we have together, in terms of your own spiritual life, am I on a vacation or am I on a pilgrimage? Two, am I even interested in getting started? And lastly, do I have a spiritual plan? This past year, I had the opportunity to be with the Leadership Kansas group, and we were in Kansas City, and there was an Hispanic woman, came out of poverty, fought her way through the ghetto of California, went all the way, got to college. She now works with NFL Films. And so she spoke, and she said something that I just thought was really awesome. She talked about our personal plan, and she talked about a community plan. And so she has a business plan, she has a community plan, and she has a spiritual plan. And I thought, you know, that's awesome. Sometimes we try to do it as one. So do you have a plan? What are you going to do? Today, as a little tool, this is something we used at a Capeman's mid-retreat last fall. You're a little bit familiar with it. Yeah. But it might be just something that you can take with you. If we had time, we would actually work through it together. Some of you in the back, I know didn't get one, so maybe if we could get these up and get them out. But what I will do is I want to take a second and just run through it. The first thing is your name. Put your name on it. It starts the covenant. It starts the process. And then if you open it up, the first slab, I'd like you to prayerfully reflect about what things there are in your life, the junk and the stuff that you're carrying this year. And a lot of you know the New Year's resolution, so you've already been through this process. But if not, look at that. And just brainstorm, what are a few things you feel like you'd like to unpack? And take this to adoration, give this some prayer time. Then open up this. What I'd ask you to do up there is to pick one. You might have two or three, but let's just pick one that you're going to go deep on. Write it down. And I think we start with why. Why is this an issue? Have you ever heard of the 3 whys? When you start, you ask yourself why and you get your answer. Ask why again to that, and ask why a third time. And you're going to start to go deep why this is so important. And then, what gets in the way? What are the obstacles that are going to keep you from getting to that point? Who are the people in your lives that can help you? This is a company at peace. And I'm going to say this is harder for guys than ladies. And that is, it is so much easier to have some people in camp and walk with them. Jason, Blake, Mike, Jim, these are some people I've had the privilege of getting to know. And it's not that if we're struggling or I'm struggling with something, just to call one up and tell them. And even if I know it's silly and I know it's egotistical or it's prideful, but just to say it and have somebody listen, it's just amazing to have somebody listen and to let you flush that out and do it. So I'd highly recommend you spend some energy thinking about who's in your camp. I would also say, I tended to go to everybody but my spouse, Janice. And, when Janice became the number one person, that also has amazing impact on our relationship. And then, what are 3 things you're going to do? This last one might be the most important. What are you going to do tomorrow or today at this early? So here's the problem. We make all these ideas, we have all these ideas, but by writing it down, by giving ourselves the time to just write this down and come up with a main plan. What we did in the fall at Capeman's Men I literally, as simple as this exercise was, I literally moved the dial on the idea that I wanted to focus on. Our diocese has been given a really great gift with this whole Reclaim Sunday concept. I hope it's grown on me the opportunity, but I'm starting to hear other people talk about it. But I think this whole notion of reclaiming is amazing. Lastly, sign it. It's a covenant at that point. And date it and commit to it. So, that's what it looks like. I'd like to stop there. There are a few people in the room that, what do we have? Can I, a few more minutes? Like, are we all right on time? Okay? Okay. But what I would like to do is open it up. Is anybody out there had this pilgrim experience of this intentional walk? And is this present? How many? Let me just start with a question. How many people have been on what they call pilgrimage, 4 to 7 days or more? Okay. So we have a third of the people. Anybody want to share anything about that experience? Anybody?
Well, I recall being at the site of the when Jesus was praying on Thursday night.
Yes.
The agony in the garden. Just of course the tour guide said, these trees they only live about 600-700 years, so these aren't the trees that were there then. But being in that area just made me think this is where Jesus was praying. And so now when I say the sorrowful mysteries, that verse 1, it just means a whole lot more now than it ever did.
Good point. Yes.
First of all, I thank you for your talk. My name is Peg Tikachek, and I serve as mission leader of the Center for Being Christi. I just came from the Holy Land as well last Thursday, and I have been involved for the last 10 years with Magdala, which is an extension of the Notre Dame of Jerusalem. If any of you have been on pilgrimage, that's kind of the Vatican of the Holy Land. And Magdala is a vision of Father Juan Solano to demonstrate the public ministry of Jesus in Galilee. And so for 13 years, this has been kind of a work of God because he was able to secure some land in Galilee, which isn't easy, and begin the building of an ecumenical church, spirituality, all around the encounter and what we call the new evangelization. So what had happened is they started building the chapel, and they ran into a first century synagogue. And this is now, they're rediscovering the whole town of Magdala. And the church is called the Duke and Altum, and it's cast into the deep, because right on the shore there is where Jesus called the Andrew and Peter, and it was the salt city. So it's a phenomenal experience. I've been on a pilgrimage accompanying them. They opened up a guest house, so now they'll be receiving pilgrims. They had 250,000 this year. They expect 1 million in the next 4 years. 4 hotels are now being built of Galilee. And I was able to be at the inauguration in November and was asked to do strategic planning as they are working to understand what they will do for the year 2033, which is the 2000th anniversary of Christianity. And so they're working with the folks that designed the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. And I feel like I'm working with Peter and the fishermen and bringing many of the business skills, but mostly I'm bringing much of the spirit of this diocese, because Bishop Kemi has been there. Miraculously, my own pastor, Father Durak, was there at the same time that we were doing this planning. And so there's lots of miracles. And my job now is to be a bit of an ambassador. I'm on my way to Ascension and have been in contact with Bishop Kemi and all of you to understand what and how we can export the many, many treasures we have in this diocese to be able to bring that Holy Land alive. So I just share, yes, I've been on pilgrimage. And ask for your prayers.
That's packed so many of the things we've done to do. Steve?
I forgot what you had asked, but, so forgive me if I veer off the road here a little bit, but I'm kind of a procedure kind of person. The reclaim here, when you put these things down, I know you don't have people put them in a drawer. Do you suggest that people, at the end of the day, kind of review how they do here, or what happens next there?
Well, what we typically do is put it in a drawer. And that's the 90%. I feel like by going through the process and being intentional, I didn't have to go back and look at it because I spent so much time with it. The size of that is designed that it is something you can put in your pocket, you can keep with you. Put it in a place in your desk that you can pull out and it's going to be in front of you. Anything you can do to keep it in front of you, but I would say take that intention and it becomes your prayer intention, it becomes offering mass for that, it becomes something, your rosaries, really begin to put prayer, wrap prayer around it to the point where you will remember it. It's not just the document. So one of the things, Steve, one of the things I also did, this is just brainstorm with some people, that our church is so rich with so many nuggets, so many spiritual weapons. And so what I did is I brainstormed and just made a list. I leave a space where you could, whatever things you would like to do, just pick one of these and do it extremely well. But it was as you're doing your discernment and you're thinking of the opportunities, there are so many ways. Daily Mass still trumps all. And for any daily communicants, doesn't have to go every day. Just really, asking us 1 hour a week is a pretty small ask, if you think about it. That's a very small ask. So, but anyway, this is just for you to be able to use when you make your choice. All right, my time is up. Thank you very much. Love you all. I'm so proud to be part of this diocese and for the friendships I've made. For those that I don't know, it's something I look forward to knowing you. Best of luck in businesses and all you have going. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Don't forget your free book. Okay, we're back on schedule. If you do have a chance, take a look at that. Any list can kind of be overwhelming, but as Joe mentioned, pick one and get started on your journey. We were talking and some pilgrimage, it seems, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that for 2 weeks and not be able to do that. Well, if you embrace the concept of pilgrimage, you don't have to leave Wichita to go on a pilgrimage. You can do micro pilgrimage even today. Even walking to your car is a pilgrimage, especially as it's snowing outside. Part of the Father Capon in the pilgrimage series, one of the challenges after the lessons is to walk 10 minutes. Without headphones, without iPhone, and just walk. And I'm like, oh, geez, okay. I'm not one that can really do that. But once I did it, I actually walked to work from where I live. I put the backpack on, and it was a game changer. It sounds so simple, but the first minute you're walking, and you're like, okay, what am I going to think about? Because I'm not used to the quiet. And then about minutes 2 through 10, I was thinking about things and going deep on stuff that I had never gone before. So that's just one little nugget, a little story on kind of what impacted me. We would love to have you join us on Monday nights for 8 weeks. We intentionally started at February 17th. So if you don't have any other Lenten plans, that's not a bad tool to maybe utilize as you go through Lent. The other thing, all of the Capon's men's series are out on Forum for free. So if you have access to Forum, you can view all the other series too. That might be something you add to your toolbox, is to go through, and each video, once you get through the introduction, are 10 to 12 minutes, and they're really great. They have the study guides and everything as well. So check that out. Any CAB advisory board members, am I missing anything that we need to talk about? We got a great spring ahead. We hope each of you have a blessed Lent. And again, fill out the surveys, and if you have any questions or need to get signed up, I think somebody's going to be out there to sign you up if you want a membership. You can pay there. If not, you can fill out the form as well. And we look forward to seeing you back here on May and hopefully February 17th for the Pilgrimage Series. So be safe out there and have a blessed day. Thank you.